Hello everyone, welcome back. We are talking about our favorite training aids that we use here at the Golf Leadership Academy. This is our second series, so our second favorite training aid of all time is what we call our divot board. So Ben, why is this piece of plastic that looks like it's been beat up pretty good our second favorite training aid?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things we can do with it. So kind of going back to almost the face tape, right? We feel that the divot board is going to create awareness. So it's amazing to us how many times a player thinks that they have the divot in the right location, and they're not even close once we get them on this divot board. So I think a lot of us practice off mats in the wintertime. There's not a lot of green grass in southeast Michigan in the winter, so a majority of you are going to be practicing off a mat. And a lot of times when the player is actually striking the ground behind the ball off a mat, they can't tell when they do that. So one of the benefits of the striker board is you can go ahead and select your appropriate challenge point, and you can start to actually make some swings where you're missing the back side of the board and then hitting the turf in front of it. So if your divot gets a little bit behind the ball, the board is gonna let you know that that's actually happening. Whoa is right.
Yeah, so the second thing is when folks come through the door, they're looking for help with their golf game. They say, I want to be consistent. Basically, they want to hit it better. Different way to say that is if you can't control where that club's hitting the ground, if you can't hit the ground in the same spot every time, you're not going to get the consistency that you're looking for. So it'll give you feedback, it'll let you know,
yep.
And then it'll really get you narrowed in or more precise with it being able to interact with the ground in a repeatable, consistent type of way.
Yeah, you got it.
What do you think about players who are shooting over 90, let's say? Is it easy for them to do this or a challenge at first?
At first it's a challenge, but the unique thing about it is you'll actually figure it out relatively quickly with this feedback device, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the other things that we would encourage you to do with it is try to stretch the divot both ways. Try to intentionally hit the board a few times. Try to stretch the divot too far forward a few times, because you're giving yourself answers on how to make adjustments. So an example here would be, if you look at the low point board here, you can see that the furthest back they want you to go is where this pro line would be. But we would encourage you, forget the pro line. Actually set your golf club on the back side of this board and see if you can stretch that thing too far forward. Because as you're stretching it too far forward, if you ever have a problem on the golf course where you're hitting behind the ball, you now have a solution that you can use in order to help yourself when you're playing.
Okay. So with this tool, growing awareness,
yep.
Step one.
Really important.
Right? And then step two is figuring out that you can move it around like you had just demonstrated. So learning to make changes in your own golf swing without somebody telling you how to do it. A cautionary tale, we would say that when people struggle or get stuck on this in front of us, mostly it's because they're trying to avoid hitting it. So they're trying to avoid the error versus using it as a tool, working with it. So when we find players getting stuck, we ask, well, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to hit the ground over here, or are you trying to avoid the error? And most often they'll say, well, I'm trying to avoid hitting it.
Yep.
So if you get this tool, it's fantastic. It'll help you. Just don't go into it with the idea that you're trying to avoid errors. You're really trying to find where that club's interacting with the ground, because when you get control of that, getting the ball up in the air gets a whole lot easier. So we hope this helps you. Get you one of these for at home or when you go onto the range mat. We thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.